Welcome to MuggleCast 431. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
I'm Laura.
And we're joined by one of our Slug Club members this week, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hailing from Rhode Island, a new mother. You are parenting who will be a big Harry Potter fan one day, I hope, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. As you can see by the newborn photo shoot of the Harry Potter set that I had her in.
Oh, wait, was that yours that we posted on Instagram?
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh my gosh.
That
I didn't
was
even
so
make the
beautiful.
connection.
Thank
Yes. Check out our Instagram for that. That was really, really smart.
I'm checking. Hold on.
Pause for Micah. Micah, don't you look at every single thing we post on our social media channels?
Of course.
I see she has an empty glass of butterbeer right next to her. Wow. Wow.
I almost put like a Hogwarts mug instead, just like with the crest. And then when I saw the butterbeer, I was like, oh, it looks like
Yeah.
she drank it all.
When will be the right age to introduce baby Eleanor to Harry Potter? What age do you think is the right age?
Well, once I start like reading books and stuff to her, I'll start with the illustrated edition so she can like look at the pictures and stuff. So maybe after 1, maybe 2.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's pretty young.
I mean, I'm at least going to start reading it so that she can just see the pictures and
Connect.
and maybe connect it. But I mean, she definitely won't start understanding it until she's a little older. But I want to try reading early on.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to let her decide if she wants to be a Harry Potter fan, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to at least push it a little bit.
Right.
If she decides she doesn't like it, that's okay.
No, that's not okay.
Right.
She
You have
will
to
like
take it back,
You
get another
won't,
one,
you
exchange
won't
it.
be mad. You'll just be disappointed.
Right.
I know that obviously she is new to the world and there's still a lot of time to learn about her personality. But based off of what you know so far, what house do you think she would be?
Oh my god.
Well, this is tough because she's so brand new. But her personality has been showing through more. I think between maybe a Puff and a Gryffindor. Yeah.
Does she poop like a Puff?
What?
Or a Gryffindor? Well, how else can
I
you
mean,
tell?
she's very sasatisfied after she poops, and she likes to like make funny faces. So.
Yeah, that's a Hufflepuff.
Definitely
Absolutely. Or Slytherin. Yeah.
I mean, when she has her like crazy blowouts and stuff, and she's like proud of them,
Oh,
slightly Slytherin,
okay.
maybe. I don't
Now we're
know.
moving into TMI territory.
You opened this door, guys.
You asked Andrew.
I did.
She's sleeping in a newt case, it looks like, with a Hufflepuff tie behind her. So
Yeah, because that's my house, so I
Oh, okay.
put that on her.
Well, speaking of that, let's get your fandom ID.
Favorite book is Goblet of Fire. Favorite movie is a toss-up, and I will have to explain Goblet of Fire and Half-Blood Prince. House is Hufflepuff. Ilvermorny House is Pukwudgie. Patronus is a brown hare. And then Harry Potter fan site back in the day. I mean, I always like checked in with MuggleNet, but I was a big like RPG fan back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And then Midnight Release Party, Deathly Hallows. I went to Boston, and they had Harry and the Potters concert, and it was really awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The reason we asked those last two questions is because on today's show, we're going to get ready for our Order of the Phoenix discussions by talking about the years in between Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix being published. It was the longest gap between Harry Potter books, and it was a very important time for the fandom. So we're going to talk about why and what people were doing in today's episode to prepare for chapter by chapter Order of the Phoenix. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we have a great discussion prepared, and it's nice to have you on, Stephanie. So thank you for joining us, and thanks for your support.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Speaking of fandom, Wizards Unite Indianapolis is next week. Well, this week, this Labor Day weekend. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to have some new MuggleCast promotional items to hand out to people. So if you see me, I'm going to be wearing a Deathly Hallows button-down t-shirt. Please say hello. The reason I already know that is because I'm on a trip.
Just that t-shirt?
Yeah, just that t-shirt, no pants, no socks, no shoes.
Nobody will notice. Everybody will be looking at their phone the whole time. It's Wizards Unite weekend. Yay.
Too true. So if you see me at the Wizards Unite Fan Festival, I'm going to be on the ground Saturday, please say hi. And then Sunday, I'll be recording with these guys, talking about the weekend. Keep an eye out for me, please, and I'll hand you our new MuggleCast promotional item. They'll be sticking out of my pocket, I think.
Your shirt pocket.
I don't know why I had to mention that, but I did. Huh?
Your shirt pocket.
Shirt pocket, yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, you're not wearing any pants, so where else are you going to put them?
True, very true. And guys and Stephanie, you three are going to be at LeakyCon Boston this October?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We will be, Eric and I, Stephanie as well, you just mentioned, will be at LeakyCon in Boston, October 11th through the 13th. It's going to be at the Seaport Hotel and World Trade Center. It is the 10th anniversary of LeakyCon. They started it all back in Boston, so they're returning 10 years later. And they actually just released an initial schedule that people can check out. I know they've made a couple of announcements about talent that are going to be there. Dan Fogler, who plays Jacob in Fantastic Beasts, and then also Chris Rankin, who played Percy Weasley in the Potter films. And I'm sure more announcements to come, but I know, Eric, we're looking forward to it.
Definitely. It's good. It's good to be back. Leaky's been good to us. It's like going home, seeing all of our friends at these Harry Potter cons. Listeners who are thinking of attending, we do have a special discount code through MuggleCast, and it's actually just the code MUGGLE. So if you're checking out for registration for LeakyCon Boston, enter code MUGGLE and get $10 off your registration. Just a little something we can do for all of our listeners who are going there. And I know Mike and I will be, as you said, on these panels throughout the weekend. So it'll be a good opportunity to see us and chat with us, and as well as thousands of other Harry Potter fans.
Now, is there going to be a MuggleCast meetup?
We betcha.
Yes.
Yeah, do something.
I was trying to be vague there, Micah, but you're like, yeah, we'll do that.
Details to be determined, but yes, we will have a meetup.
People have been asking, and they're also going to be there all 3-4 days. So you will get a chance to see them if you're there, no matter what day you go.
Our meetup in Orlando was so fun that we can't not do another one.
And if you see Micah, do me a favor, because I do this when I see him. Jump on his back for me. Don't even warn him. Just run up and jump on his back. Since I won't be there, he's going to miss me doing it. So I need somebody else to do it.
What am I, Hodor? I feel like Andrew's probably done that before, though.
I actually haven't. I just wanted to tease you.
Yeah, but then what happens if somebody does that right in front of security? And I don't know. It'd be funny.
Well, yeah.
Carry their ass over to jail.
To Azkaban. LeakyCon Azkaban.
Azkaban, yeah.
Eric, you also wanted to provide a clarification about Hagrid, the ride?
Yeah, so we were just in Orlando a couple weeks ago. We did that episode from Podcast Movement. The day you guys left to come back from Orlando, I actually went back to Universal Park, and I needed to get to the bottom of how it was that Mike and I walked right by the pre-show video on Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, the one with Mark Williams and Robbie Coltrane in the video. So I interviewed a couple more Universal staffers, and I've concocted this statement, which should help you make sure that you're going to see the pre-show video. So if you're in the single rider line, you're not going to see the video. That's just one. The single rider line starts about 60 feet from the room where the video plays, but it bypasses the video room. And if you're in the regular line as well, certain times, like we mentioned on the episode, they actually turn off the video entirely. So there's no real great way to make sure you're going to see this pre-ride video. It's fun. It's 4 minutes of essential context, in my opinion. But depending on because it's the first room, depending on the state that the video is in and them wanting to keep the line moving, it's possible you'll miss the video. So thankfully, the internet has solved this problem. And if you're waiting in line, these wait times in excess of 2 hours, check YouTube. Behind the Thrills posted the pre-show video for Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure in its entirety. And just, if you miss it, like Mike and I just walked right by it, it's somehow easy to miss. And definitely when you're waiting in line, what better to do than to watch the video if you missed it.
On YouTube instead of
on YouTube.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. It's like right in the regular line, it's the first room, but they aren't.
But that's what happens at theme parks. If you're on the single rider line, especially. You miss some of the good stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll put a link to that video in the show notes of today's episode. Also wanted to clarify a comment we made about Harry's schooling situation in his early years from last week's episode. Harry was supposed to go to Stonewall High, not St. Brutus. I think we got the schools mixed up. Thank you to Eagles and Reds and Asim for clarifying that for us.
Yeah.
That was my bad. I apologize.
I think
deeply.
it was my fault, actually, because I think I said something initially, and Laura, rightly so, tried to correct me, which I think,
I don't think so. No.
Look at these two competing to take the fall.
Everybody's just like fighting.
It was my fault. I left it in the episode. I'm sorry. That was me.
Andrew's like, it's my fault. I let it happen.
Oh, I'm not taking credit. No, you two can take the blame. I screw up enough.
I think I said smeltings initially, and then Laura was like, yeah, by the way, I think that's where Dudley actually goes, not Harry. And
I think it was Grunnings, you guys.
I think that's where Vernon works.
that's where Vernon
right.
I
went.
know it is. It is.
Okay.
I'm joking.
You know what? I was 50% right. And honestly, 50% of life is just showing up. So
There you go.
Congratulations, Laura. You showed up.
Harry goes to Hogwarts, right? Is that? Can we
I
leave
think
it?
so.
So on this week's episode, we are going to talk about the gap between Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix being published as we get ready to do chapter by chapter for the fifth book in the Harry Potter series. It was an interesting time between 2000 and 2003. Goblet of Fire was published summer 2000 and Order of the Phoenix was published summer 2003. And the anticipation for Order of the Phoenix was unlike anything we had seen for a previous Harry Potter book. And this was for two reasons, and this is what we want to talk about today. Reason one was the wait between the two books.
Mm-hmm.
This was the longest wait between books. Books 1, 2, and 3, there was only a 1-year wait between those three. Order of the Phoenix to Half-Blood Prince was only 2 years. Half-Blood Prince to Deathly Hallows was also 2 years. And in that time, the fandom just grew and grew in anticipation of the next book. But one of the things we wanted to address was why it was a 3-year wait.
Right.
What did you find, Eric? Because we went back in the archives to find comments from J.K. Rowling and look up some information about this.
Yeah, I remember J.K. Rowling at one point admitting that turning out a new Harry Potter book every year, as she did with the first 4, really kind of wore her out. Definitely by book 4, which is twice as long as all the books before it, she still turned around in the same amount of time. And so I remember her saying she had been burned out, but I wanted to find the exact quote. So I went to Accio quote, which is like anybody's best friend. Harry Potter fans everywhere should be bookmarking this site. It is beautiful. They've categorized pretty much everything J.K. Rowling has ever said in an interview. And so I found a quote, and this is in an Edinburgh Cub Reporter press conference from July 2005. So a guy named Joseph Rollins asks, which book was hardest to write for you? J.K. Rowling says Goblet of Fire. Joseph asks, is that true? And J.K. Rowling says, Goblet of Fire was difficult because by that time I was exhausted. I had been writing as well as being a single mother, as well as trying to hold down a succession of day jobs. I was very tired. Goblet was a bit of a struggle. By the end of that book, I really knew that I had to take some time off and relax a bit. So.
And the other thing that was killing her that wasn't addressed in this quote was that she was working under a deadline.
Yeah.
For some reason, they had set her on a deadline. And after this book, she said, no more deadlines.
Right.
I'm doing what I want. I will finish this at my own pace without being rushed.
As she should.
And
one question I did have, though, and maybe this comes up a little bit later on, was were the movies also impacting her speed of writing and the deadlines? And because they started, and these kids, they're going to get older, right? So you have to fit it within a certain window. So I wonder how much that was having an impact on her as well.
Yeah. I mean, right when Goblet of Fire, the book, came out, there's this interview on Newsround where they're asking her the update of the film. So yeah, pre-production of the film, really arranging the film to get together was all happening within that same window of when she had written or was editing Goblet of Fire. It's kind of nuts if you think about it. Like, she really, a single mom, was doing so much for the entire world's benefit in just a short period of time.
Yeah. Stephanie, imagine not only being a parent, but putting together a book and a movie.
I cannot. I can't even parent by myself. Like, my husband comes home, I'm like, thank God. So I can't even imagine doing all that she does.
Yeah. And Eric, you had a quote here from July 2000, because a publication Newsround had checked in with her about the film, and they said, how's the first film going? And she said, it's ongoing. Still haven't got Harry, which is a bit of a worry, but it's going really well. I've seen some things and they look incredible. It's the most amazing experience. And she also seemed like she was really excited to see Quidditch and Hagrid's hut in the physical world.
I wanted to ask, guys, so I know we're sort of preluding our Order of the Phoenix discussion, but does Goblet of Fire feel rushed to you guys? Do you think that there are traces in the book of, like, can you tell that J.K. Rowling was rushed, or do you think it was pretty much glossed over in the editing process?
I mean, I think Goblet of Fire is my favorite book, like, absolute favorite. Okay. But I know that there's, like, an actual, like, error in the book where, like, as it, like, Harry, like, leaves his invisibility cloak on the stairs.
Oh, right.
You know, and then like afterwards it's like, well, how did it actually get back to him? So I mean, like, I think in that kind of sense, like, you know, there might have been a couple errors.
That was to set the groundwork for Cursed Child, in case you didn't know.
I think it was the Marauders map. I think Moody / Crouch has the Marauders map. And Harry just pulls it out of his trunk in like chapter 1 of book 5.
J.K. Rowling has admitted that Goblet of Fire was the work she is least proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's just unfair, I think, to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's noticeable in the book, though.
No. Goblet of Fire is also my favorite book. And it's because I have this, like, working theory that we've talked about a lot on the show, that Harry Potter is a frame narrative. And Goblet of Fire is sort of the centerpiece of that, and it connects everything. And I think in that regard, the book is incredibly successful. So I think that she's maybe being a little hard on herself, because I can definitely understand that maybe it wasn't a joy for her to write. So perhaps her memories of it are kind of like tinting how she interprets it. But the final product, I thought, was one of the best books of the series.
Yeah. I mean, the level of world building that she's doing, even just the Quidditch World Cup, all the detail there that's jam packed. And this book still has a plot that is completely action packed. And she oversees and orchestrates the return of Lord Voldemort into physical form. I mean, it's all these things. It kind of feels like a mini conclusion in and of itself. If the books were strictly about Voldemort coming back to power, Goblet of Fire would be the last book. It would be like, success.
Right.
One wonders how different the book would be if she did have more time. And what's also fascinating is that Order of the Phoenix actually ended up being longer, and she wrote it in less time. Is it because it was such a crucial book, to Laura's point, that it just took her a long amount of time to get right? Plus juggling the movies? Because I don't think after this first movie, she was as involved with the films. So maybe that was another factor too. She needed to be involved to get things started up. And then after that, she was like, just follow the books and keep this cast.
Well,
maybe.
I think if you look at the first two films, they were very much carbon copies of the books, right? And you had a director in Chris Columbus who is known for these types of movies. But then once you shift to Prisoner of Azkaban, you want to talk about J.K. Rowling, how much level of involvement she had. Alfonso Cuarón took the movies in a completely different direction, whether you loved it or hated it. That's where I think things really started to change. And one thing I'm surprised about is, given the level of consistency in the films themselves, when you talk about producers, when you talk about cast, when you talk about crew, the fact that the director didn't stay the same over time, I always thought was really surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I think the franchise really wanted some fresh blood. When Chris Columbus, I think, retired from Harry Potter to spend more time with his family, he was missing, even though they were on screen, even though he put his kids in the movies, he wasn't spending enough time with them. So he stepped down from movie 3. I don't know that a lot of producers or anything could do anything about that. So it became, at least briefly, about finding a visionary director in Alfonso Cuarón, finding, and that was just a one-off, and then finding the first British director in Mike Newell for Goblet of Fire. And then once they got to David Yates, I think, the pieces fit, and it's been David Yates ever since.
Yeah.
But
and David Yates was like, I don't need to see my family. I don't want to see my family. This is perfect.
But I think there is something to be said for consistency. But I think it was a necessary shift to get a second, I don't know, insight or opinion into what the movies could be, which is what Alfonso provided. So
I've always found it just interesting, because if you look at the cast from start to finish, with the exception of the passing of Richard Harris, it stayed the same, right? From what I can remember anyway. Producers remained the same. Screenwriters, I think Steve Kloves only missed Order of the Phoenix, and director was really the only position that had a lot of turnover. So you would think, though, that the person who kind of latched onto the series would want to stay with it for the duration, just knowing the success that it was going to be.
Yeah. Not everybody wants to be famous and overworked, I guess.
But you tell me. I mean, Eric, you know a lot more about the space. Composers, they changed once John Williams set the groundwork.
Yeah. I mean, they did too, but I think that might have had to do more with John Williams' own schedule. Maybe you don't really need a heavy hander for all 7 entries, once you get some themes down and stuff. I kind of I don't know who you guys' favorite composers are. This is kind of getting pretty off topic, but just artistically different. I'll credit, movie 3, listeners of the show know it's not my favorite movie, but I think it really, especially with the wardrobe department, did a lot of things that I think were really cool with the new house robes and, changing the landscape of Hogwarts, and really just a different eye. So as the films were growing, I think J.K. Rowling probably was able to get back to the books, but during this period, 2000 to 2003, she was really seeing them well into existence, in addition to what she was doing with the books, in addition to what she was doing as a single mom. So it's really just super. I mean, these were J.K. Rowling's wonder years.
I'm trying to think of a song to sing here, but I can't think of something in the moment.
Have a little help from my friends. The theme song to Wonder Years, probably.
There you go. So the other big reason that these years were unlike anything we had seen so far was because of the fandom and the internet. The internet was coming up at this time. Fansites were coming online during this time. It was crucial to the fandom. We were all going online. We were going to Ask Jeeves and Yahooligans and MSN and what are some other classic search engines besides Google?
Alta Vista?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And we were typing in Harry Potter.
I was just thinking the other day of Netscape. Remember Netscape?
Uh-huh. AOL. I was an AOL guy.
The school computers all had Netscape, and if I had been doing any searching, I would have used that for my Harry Potter fix.
We were taught to use Ask Jeeves Kids and Yahooligans, which was the kids' version of Yahoo.
That sounds even worse, though, than using Yahoo. Yahooligans?
Yeah.
Yahooligans.
Sounds like you're up to no good.
Well, that's what kids are up to. No good.
Does that have a funny jingle like Yahoo? But
yeah.
Yahooligans.
So, and Eric, I know something else that you think was going on at this time was people writing fan fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we know people who were on message boards, Harry Potter for Grown-Ups, And the original, Fiction Alley was founded during this time. There was a lot going on in, really just across the internet from the adult, the adult readership that were taking in these books at the same time, that we as young teenagers were taking in the books, and they were responding to the art the same way that anyone responds to the art, but they were writing fan fiction. They were forming meetup groups. A lot. Heidi Tandy often talks about this a lot. Just really the beginning of any fandom is in the creative minds of the people reading it, reacting to it. And I think there was a crucial element in those groups. Those groups that Heidi was a part of founded the first Harry Potter fan trips, and they founded the first Harry Potter conventions. HPEF was born out of that community of adults that were reading the Harry Potter books when we all were, in the years 2000 to 2003. And in fact, the first conference ever for Harry Potter was Nimbus in Orlando. So yeah, there's a lot of history, a little secret history, but in the back there of Harry Potter.
And then people were using fan sites and message boards to talk about Harry Potter with other people because there was really no place to do it in the real world. I wasn't talking to people about Harry Potter in the real world.
You weren't talking to people in the real world at all.
That's, right? I mean, legit. Thanks.
I was one of these people too.
Yeah.
So summer 2000 was when we moved to Georgia. And because I'm between school years here, there aren't tons of opportunities for me to meet other kids my age. So I was really excited. I think my parents were really excited for book 4 to come out because they also heard it was like 700 pages. And I went and got book 4 the day it came out. I remember my mom being like, oh, 700 pages. This will keep you busy for a while. 3 days later,
you would.
It's done. And I turned to the internet. So I was reading fan fiction. I was writing fan fiction. I was finding fan sites, taking sorting quizzes, getting on AOL Instant Messenger and going to Harry Potter chat rooms and crap like that. So it was definitely a great outlet for me, being a kid who didn't have too many friends in my new neighborhood. But also just being somebody who wanted to talk more about this amazing series that ultimately was going to change my life, you know?
Yeah. I've always been so impressed at how the internet has brought people together, particularly as it pertains to the Potter community. It just, all of us sitting here right now talking to each other, we all met because of Potter. We wouldn't probably know each other otherwise. And I think that's something that's so special and unique about this particular franchise. And I remember, kind of similar to Laura, happening upon MuggleNet, and I just immersed myself because I didn't start really until the release of book 6. But I remember going on to the editorial section of MuggleNet. So many amazing theories that people were writing about. And the cool part of it was that not only could you talk with other fans about it, but you could reach out directly to the person who wrote the editorial and get thoughts from them. And I just remember in particular, Brandon Ford, The Underground Lake. There was just, there was a ton of editorials, but that one always stood out to me. I always was kind of looking forward to what he was going to be writing about theories on, at that time, it was Deathly Hallows. So I credit MuggleNet for a lot, and obviously for knowing all of you.
I'm glad you brought that up. The internet at that time, I want to say, especially if you were a young Harry Potter fan, and I was in 2002, but the internet was all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff, right? That was when you could still go into chat rooms and they weren't entirely awful.
Yeah, because social media didn't exist. You didn't have Twitter.
Yeah. It was really just...
Yeah.
It's true. There were still creeps, to be sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't as big of a hellscape as it is today.
It was really just all the good stuff, though. Like you said, reaching out to your author. I found that book, The Ultimate Unofficial Guide to the Mysteries of Harry Potter. Actually, Emerson sent a copy to me and Jamie, and I read that book, and I thought, oh my God, there's something going on with Mrs. Fig. I gotta email the authors, and I emailed the authors, and they wrote back. And that they were they were mentors to me for years after that. And that they're responsible for me going to the Book 5 release party in Oak Park, Illinois. They're in part the reason that I live in Illinois now. And, it really just, my life changed because of the internet, because of Harry Potter being on the internet. And, you can't put a price on that. I think it's been a blessed, life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also, at least for me, I mean, I met my best friend because of Harry Potter, and like Micah and Eric have been saying, by extension, all of you. And I think for me, the combination of Harry Potter and the internet destigmatized the idea of having long distance friendships.
Yeah, it did.
Because I remember like being younger when I was first getting involved with the fan sites and everything. If I would like kind of venture outside my comfort zone a little bit and tell people about my secret life as a podcaster or whatever else I was doing, they kind of looked at me weird. And people just didn't really understand it at that point. Now it's totally normal. But I don't know, it kind of feels like Harry Potter and the internet, that combination, set the precedent for being able to connect with people everywhere.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was really a perfect storm for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine if Harry Potter came before the internet.
Oh, God.
We wouldn't have known each other. The fandom would have looked very different. But we asked our patrons, what's your earliest fan site memory? Your earliest Harry Potter online memory? Erica said, well, not exactly a fan site. I remember lying about my age on Neopets so that I could join a guild that was dedicated to Harry Potter. We were sorted into houses, could take classes to earn house points, and chat on the message board with each other. From there, I learned about MuggleNet. I remember I found it about 2005. I was super excited to find it, but I can't tell my mom the truth about where I found it because I didn't want her to know I was chatting to strangers online.
Man, you know what they say, Neopets is a real gateway site. You're gonna
It is. Totally.
From there you go to
Stephanie.
MuggleNet.
Stephanie and Laura, you did this too? You used Neopets?
Oh, yeah.
How did that work? I have a vague memory of this. What is a guild on Neopets?
I can't remember.
To be honest, I don't really remember. I just remember I used it.
Okay.
I was also because I was really into the fan fiction at this point, I was super involved on harrypotterfanfiction.net. I don't know if that still exists or not, but I wrote like a long Marauders fan fiction during this time period to kind of help fill in the gaps for myself. And I ended up like meeting random people from all over the world, and we would like edit each other's work, or like I met artists who were willing to create cover art for my fan fiction. And I remember like for a brief period of time, there was somebody from Mexico that I really got close with, like close over AIM, whatever that means. And we would just like critique each other's work. And I remember like offhand mentioning one day to one of my parents' friends, I was like, oh yeah, like I have a friend in Mexico that like we do editing with each other over AIM. And she was like kind of concerned. She was like, be careful. Like he was going to come kill me or something.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah, my parents were worried about my internet activity as well. Just all these strangers.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet's brand new, and it's, the parents don't know about what's really happening, and they just know that their children's like talking to people, and they don't understand, I guess, like, how like, it's not very dangerous, but to them, like, the internet's brand new and they want to keep their child like protected and safe. So
yeah, of course. And it can be dangerous.
Yeah. And there's no precedent for it at this time, right? Like,
yeah.
In that regard, we're kind of a new species. So our parents are thinking back to when they were kids and like what possible threats there were. And it's a much more limited pool than when you introduce the internet into the equation. So I totally get it. It's just funny how much it's changed because now kids have smartphones and post all over social.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely.
Laura, can you read the next one?
This is from Rebecca. Rebecca says, I used to love MuggleNet Interactive with all its forums, fan fiction, and role-playing. I was on a Quidditch team, which involved answering high-speed trivia questions and team chats on MSN at weird hours of the day due to different time zones.
MSN. We used to have...
That's amazing.
We used to have an IRC chat. Do you guys remember that? The MuggleNet IRC?
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
Very low tech.
MuggleNet Interactive was very cool, from what I remember.
Yeah.
We had some cool people.
Do y'all remember J.K. Rowling at one point talked about how she went into one of the MuggleNet chat rooms
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and was like posing theories
Yeah.
and people were shooting her down? You're like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think we would all... She never shared...
That's why she never wants to come on the show.
She would just get shot down. She never revealed what theories she shared in the MuggleNet chat room, but I would love to know. You can only imagine. And didn't she say she was talking to somebody named Squidward something or other? Like somebody named Squidward said her theories were terrible or something.
There were a couple.
I bet that person feels like an idiot to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Micah, you want to take the next one?
Sure. Next one comes from Gabriella, who said it was mid-2004 and I had to do a presentation for my German class, so I decided to do it about something I liked and chose J.K. Rowling. I went to an internet cafe and Googled her. Among the first results, besides her old website, I found MuggleNet. When I got my first computer the following year, I went back and discovered MuggleCast, which was just starting. I've never stopped listening ever since.
Oh.
I do think Google and Yahooligans and Ask Jeeves and Alta Vista and all these others was the way you would discover fan sites because we didn't have social media, as was mentioned a few minutes ago. So how else do you find them? I guess word of mouth, maybe. But I still remember typing in Harry Potter fan site on Google to try and find the competition to HarryPottersHouse.com. And Eric? Last one.
So this feedback comes from Megan. She says, MuggleNet was the first fan site I heard about in the fall of 2002. I was in 7th grade, and my friend told me about it. I almost exclusively used MuggleNet, but I did find out about the Leaky Cauldron around the same time and occasionally visited that site. I loved visiting fan sites mainly for news and updates about Harry Potter in general, both movies and books, but I also visited the message boards for fan theories and discussions. This really touches on, I mean, for me, this gap between 2000 and 2003 was everybody wanted to talk about the books they had just read. You know, it was the perfect break room for the fandom to really, and with more people reading every month, you know, more people were flocking to this new media, the internet, to discuss it. And so, I mean, we've used this term before, but really this gap, the fandom grew exponentially within that gap and sprouted out in all these different ways that we've all been talking about. It really was essential, I would say, to new authors or to new content creators. You know, take a few years off if you get to the middle of an entire series and see what happens.
Yeah.
James Cameron took my advice, but he's taken too long.
Too long
for Avatar.
And something else that you had noted, Eric, is that people were also rereading the books during this gap. And two of our patrons who are listening live at patreon.com/MuggleCast right now, Victor and Roxanne, they said the same thing. Roxanne said, 3-year gap plus shorter books equals so many rereads. I still have details from the first 4 memorized more than the last 3 because of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember rereading as much personally, but yeah, it's like you're just craving more. And if you don't have more, what else do? You reread, you go online, you Google, you find these fan sites.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you speculate about what is coming next. And that brings us to part 2 of this discussion. People were speculating, as we still do on MuggleCast, like crazy about what would happen in the next book. What were some of the most pressing mysteries going into book 5?
I think that with Cedric Diggory's death at the end of Goblet of Fire, J.K. Rowling started the beginnings of an avalanche, right? Because from then on, nobody was safe. And I just remember prior to book 5, there being a huge discussion over who will die in book 5. And that was one of the most hotly contested, theories or questions about who would be next.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you think nobody was safe after that? Like, no offense to Cedric Diggory, but he was a random Hufflepuff, and
I mean,
I'm not. No. I'm saying in the
Too late.
larger context of the story, it's not like they offed Hagrid at the end of Goblet of Fire.
well, Hagrid was a favorite to die in book 5, from what I recall in the discussions. But no, if she can kill a student, if she can kill a Hogwarts student who has just happened to be there, and school champion, by the way, Micah. But
and right in front
I'm
of
not
his father.
diminishing them because they're a Hufflepuff. But I know that's probably what
I
you're
think that's
thinking,
what you
but
were
I'm not
doing.
doing that.
Even
Not
I'm
at all.
offended.
Not at all.
No, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. If you kill a 17-year-old boy, like an underage kid, then
okay,
it
yeah.
just means
He's a side character, though. He's not like a main character. So I would agree with Micah. Like, I don't think like everybody's up for grabs in book 5.
Well, I'll defend Eric by saying Voldemort is also back now. So you would think that the death count would ramp up in book 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I will say, Goblet of Fire is the first book in the series that sets this precedent of there being character deaths. And after book 4, a big question for each subsequent book was who's going to die in this book.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it became an expectation that there was going to be a death at the end of every book. And, there was, sometimes multiples.
And speaking of deaths, Eric, Priori Incantatem.
This was nuts. So if you really think about it, prior to book 5, we didn't know about the prophecy. We didn't know about Snape overhearing the prophecy, really anything about the Horcruxes. There was so much left to be learned about how Voldemort came to be and what it all meant. The only glimmer that we really had seemed to be this Priori Incantatem, this connection between Harry and Voldemort through their wands. And I remember originally there was a misprint when Goblet of Fire came out, and the death order of James and Lily was changed. Because when Priori Incantatem, when the spell backfires and Harry's and Voldemort's wands connect and he sees his parents or like shadows, it's a reverse order. Like Frank Bryce comes out first, and it's the reverse order of all the people Voldemort killed with that wand. But because there was an error, and I think James came out first, when in fact it should have been Lily because she was killed after James, that set the internet on fire. And so there were all these theories and speculations about, did James really die when he said he did, or when we thought he did, and what's J.K. Rowling hiding? And, we were really kind of grasping at anything we could find, but the most mysterious thing that had happened prior to the prophecy was this weird spell situation when Harry and Voldemort dueled at the end of book 4. So it was pretty much our big moment, I think, that really brought a lot of questions into the fold, into the light.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to complain about a movieism here. It bothers me so much that they use the same visuals that they use for Priori Incantatem and Goblet of Fire for every time there's some kind of wizarding duel in the rest of the Potter movies.
Yep.
So annoying. I'm like, it's not the same
Like
thing.
the spells are trying to run into each other. They're like competing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a cool visual. I guess it doesn't need to look the same every time, but
I mean, it's cool, but when you use it over and over and over again,
it
Yeah.
loses the significance of what Priori Incantatem is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then-
I mean, I don't think anyone alive in that circle had ever seen anything like that before.
and
when
then
it happened to Harry.
this point will excite Laura, I think. There was the ring theory, and this gets to your frame narrative, I think, right? I think, Laura. Eric explained this.
Yeah, so this quote was... I wanted to see if J.K. Rowling ever touched on this thing we keep going back to, which is ring composition, literary alchemy, planets and things, and all of this. So J.K. Rowling was asked, how vital is book 4 in the whole 7-book series to Harry? And JKR says, crucial. The fourth is a very, very important book. Well, you know, because you read it, something incredibly important happens in book 4, and also it's literally a central book. It's almost the heart of the series, and it's pivotal. It's very difficult to talk about, and I can't wait for the day someone's read all 7, and I can talk completely freely about it, but it's a very, very important book.
All right, Joe. Come on, MuggleCast. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. It used to drive me nuts when she used to say what she just said towards the end of that quote. I can't wait for the day
Yeah, like I'll be so willing to talk
when I
about
can
it
be
later.
free to talk about all of this. But now I don't really talk about anything.
She's definitely pulling a Dumbledore. You know, at the end of Sorcerer's Stone, when Dumbledore tells Harry, alas, the first thing you ask me, I can't answer. I'll tell you when you're ready.
I think we ruined J.K. Rowling on Twitter, everybody. I think that is just something we have to come to terms with.
Yeah.
She used to be there to answer these kinds of questions.
Yeah, on her website there was a lot there. On Pottermore there was a lot there. But
Yeah. Oh, man. I miss the days of her website.
yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah, that was the best. And then, so in doing research for this episode, I wanted to find what people were talking about before Order of the Phoenix came out. But of course it was hard because it was 18, 17 years ago. I mean, it's hard to find stuff like that that's still online. And you can't go and Google biggest theories before the book comes out because we just weren't doing listicles yet. But what I did is I used the Wayback Machine to bring up MuggleNet. And I went to their Book 5 facts page. And this version of it is from October 2002. So it was a good 8-9 months before Order of the Phoenix was set to come out. And I thought we could go through some of these quote-unquote facts about Book 5, what we believed to be true before the book came out.
Can I just say, this is an amazing page. It is a perfect time capsule that you've discovered.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's an awesome banner ad at the top advertising CallWave, the internet answering machine. That thing, for anyone who doesn't know, if you were online, you were using your phone connection. But with CallWave, you could get your phone calls while online. It was revolutionary.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you picked up the phone, did it sound like...
I can't remember, but we had CallWave. We loved it.
I like how there's this poll on the side. Will Harry and Draco ever become friends? Yes. Yes for a brief period. Heck no, not sure.
Seacursed Child should be in option 5.
So let's go through a few of these facts about Book 5. In Book 5, we go into a whole new area physically, an area you've never seen before, a magical world.
Department of Mysteries.
Department of Mysteries. Ah, yes, you're right, of course. Book 5 will be scary. Harry finds out a lot of things he hasn't stumbled across so far. Accurate.
Well, that's vague.
Yeah. Here's the Cedric one. In Book 5, Harry has to examine exactly what death means in even closer ways. So the death thing is not going away.
And also the Thestrals.
Yeah. Yeah, the Thestrals and the prophecy. Neither can live while the other survives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We will see Mr. Weasley's car. Woohoo! Aragog, Dobby, and the Dementors again.
Mm-hmm.
Here, this one cracks me up. Book 5 will be shorter than the 4th. The 4th book will be the longest one. Okay.
Are these just theories, or are these?
Well,
These were confirmed. These were by J.K. Rowling or an official source.
I think they were comments from J.K. Rowling that were said in interviews.
Got it.
And at the time, J.K. Rowling wasn't planning for Order of the Phoenix to be the longest, but then she pulled a J.K. Rowling and it became the longest.
We don't see the Fort Anglia again, though, do we?
We don't see Aragog in the 5th one, right?
There is a mention of the Fort Anglia. I think there may at least be a mention of Aragog. So maybe that's what
I guess that got pushed off to Book 6.
Mhm.
Yeah. Although I have a feeling it was at least mentioned because remember, Book 5 is where we get the Grop
Yeah.
subplot, and
Yeah.
Grop is living in the forest.
So there's
Yeah.
like a shout out at least.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to see it, I thought, again in Deathly Hallows, but we never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You
it's in Orlando.
This next one is interesting. The Dursleys are in the next book, and there's stuff coming with them that people might not expect. I believe that refers to Petunia.
Probably.
Remember my last?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
We did expect to hear more from Arabella Figg.
Oh, yeah. That's the other big one, too. In addition to Priori Incantatem, the old crowd, getting the old crowd together, what does that mean? You know, what's going on? We kind of guessed at the Order of the Phoenix before we knew for sure that it was what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
We will find out why Voldemort killed Lily and James Potter.
The prophecy.
Check. Yep.
Something huge will be revealed about Lily Potter.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm not either. We might be missing something big there.
Yeah.
People listening live, let us know if we're missing something there. This one's funny. There will be a female Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Yes, there
Represent.
Yep.
was. But we had no idea just how horrible of a person it would be.
Yeah. Worst representation ever.
Yes.
Eric, you'll love this one. Ginny Weasley will play more of a role in Book 5.
Yay.
Look forward
she
to
names... Yeah, I forget about this often, but she names Dumbledore's army. She's the one who suggests the title, so check.
And finally, one of the main characters, one of Harry's fans, will die. Kind of surprising that J.K. Rowling would even go that far to say that.
Yeah, one of
But
Harry's...
also, like, saying one of Harry's fans is weird, right? Like,
Sirius was a fan.
I mean, yeah, but he was also his godfather. I feel like that goes a little farther than just being a fan.
Well, what do you want her to do? Say his godfather's going to die?
No, I think you could, like, she could have left it. It says one of the main characters will die.
Yeah.
Could have just left it with that. Because, like, when I read one of Harry's fans, I'm like, Colin Creevy? Like, I don't know.
You know what? I found... Okay, so I'm on Angel Fire.
My God.
Oh, Lord.
I am surprised this still loads. And another website called OO Cities. Ooh Cities. Oh my God. You guys got to see this.
GeoCities.
No, yeah, but it's oocities.com.
Okay.
Anyway, one of his fans will die. This might be Hagrid. Maybe that's why people thought Hagrid was gonna die. Yeah, I don't know. These other websites actually are just reposting pretty much the same content from MuggleNet that was going on back then.
Roxanne, who's listening live, says the big thing about Lily Potter could be, since that book has Snape's worst memory, maybe originally Rowling was planning on revealing in that book that they were friends. I think we do learn in the book that Lily came to Snape's defense.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's the extent
So that's probably
of
the
it.
big thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
With that worst memory.
Thank you, Roxanne. So yeah, there was a bunch of things going on. It's also really interesting browsing the Wayback Machine, MuggleNet, on the Wayback Machine, just seeing the news at the time. It's just like these little random items. Emerson was writing everything at the time, it seemed like.
I mean, these headers, though, the images,
Yeah.
Harry with the torch, Harry in the woods, you know, takes me way back.
Well, also the tagline, MuggleNet, simply the best. Like,
It's very
what?
Is that really what it
tagline.
says?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
what it
Oh,
says.
wow. Ego much? One other thing I wanted to bring up, too, heading into the release of Order of the Phoenix, and I didn't get this opportunity, like I said, because I didn't come along to the books really until Half-Blood Prince, but what were your thoughts on the cover art for Order of the Phoenix? Was there a lot of discussion around that?
I'm sure there was.
Yeah, I feel like I remember there being a lot of discussion and analysis about the number of candles
Yes.
that were in the cover art.
Yes.
And I don't remember what we thought they meant, but it was a big deal.
You're so right.
And why everything was blue, that was a big question too.
Yeah, this was the first book where it was a single color scheme. How many candles? I'm counting. 1, 2. Well, in the foreground, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well, if you divide 15 by 5, fifth book, you get 3.
3.
Frame narrative.
And book 5 corresponds to book 3.
Oh my gosh. Sirius enters in 3, dies in 5.
We're going to be talking about that soon, aren't we, Laura?
Yep. Yes, we will.
So it's the books on either side of 4. It's 5 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that'll be next week's episode of MuggleCast. So, midnight release parties. Where were we? Eric, you said this was your first midnight release party, right?
Yeah, it was. And I was in Oak Park, Illinois. They changed all their downtown Oak Park Avenue shops into stores for Diagon Alley. And I was there representing MuggleNet. Papa Sparts was there. Dylan was there. Emerson's whole family was there, actually, but not Emerson. Emerson was Emerson. So I met all of Emerson's family before meeting him. But we were all there for MuggleNet and Wizarding World Press's special book release celebration with the Magic Tree Bookstore and all of that. Emerson was actually in London with Jamie at the time at Waterstones. They handed out stickers in line and stuff there. But it was, I'll never forget the night. There's video, there's photos. We did a wizard's chess in the middle of the street with sidewalk chalk. Tons of people came out. So many people came out. I think it was 10,000. The local, the police cordoned off the streets and wouldn't let anybody else in. It was a massive party and proof about what we've been saying, that the fandom had just grown so much, and I think to their credit, the Oak Park Chamber of Businesses really put the word out. And so parents and parents with children from all the surrounding Chicagoland areas, Naperville, Downers Grove, Schaumburg, all really brought their kids to that one party for the night. So it was probably the place to be in Chicago for book 5.
Patrons who are listening live right now, please share your midnight release stories in the chat. We will read them once we go through ours. So this was my second midnight release party, and I just went to the Barnes & Noble down the street with my sister and neighbor. And I still remember some of the cool kids were there. And it's like, ooh, the cool kids are into Harry Potter now, too. Interesting. Very interesting. It didn't make me a cool kid, unfortunately.
I was going to say that makes you cool by association.
Right? Yeah. I wished at the time. But
yeah.
It was Barnes & Noble, Borders, nationwide, those were the stores to be at, and all the other book chains that were around at that time, Books A Million and whatever else was out there.
Yeah,
Borders.
Yeah, they had so many
Walden
activities.
Books.
Right, Walden. Yeah, that was a good one.
For me, it was just I don't have a story. Sorry.
You weren't a fan yet, right?
No, I was not.
You were watching TV that night.
Yeah. When was this book released again?
June 20th. 2003.
I think 21st. So the night of the.
Well, yeah, the 20th into the 21st. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was summertime. I was probably working.
A cool story.
Yeah.
Cool story, bro. Book 5 was also my first midnight release party because for book 4, my mom had actually arranged to take us to a release party at an independent children's bookstore to support them over the big chains. Mm-hmm. And they weren't doing a midnight release party. They were just doing a daytime release party. But then we got there and they were closed and nothing was happening. And my mom was kind of well, what the F is this? And took us to Barnes and Noble and got us the books. So book 5 was my first midnight release party. And I have to give my mom some props here because book 5 actually came out the day before we were going on vacation. So she took us to the midnight release party, got us the books. We went home and read all night. And then she assisted with all the driving and stuff the next day to get us where we were going. So, props to her. Props to Mama T for indulging our reading obsessions.
Also kind of a failed social lesson in there too, the support local bookstores kind of thing.
Yeah. Right? I know. She was so mad. She was like, I'm trying to do the right thing here and you guys advertise this big party and then I get there and your store's closed.
Oh man.
How about you, Stephanie?
So yeah.
I did not get to go to a midnight release party because I was a fan of the books, but I didn't know about release parties at all. So I think for me, I was not around for it, but I remember at least when it came out because I was walking in Target and I saw the book 5 on an end cap and I was like, oh, it's out. And I bought it and that was about it.
Did you make it to any of the book release parties later?
Yes. Well, book 6, I had to have my mom take me because I think I was like 15. And she took me just to like my local like Stop and Shop because I was like, oh, they're going to have them everywhere. So she took me to Stop and Shop, which is just a grocery store. And they just had the book for sale there. They weren't doing there was no party or anything. And then, but Deathly Hallows, I went into Boston and went in the Harvard Square. They did a huge Harry and the Potters concert with Draco and the Malfoys, a bunch of other stuff. People like cosplayed, like it was like really, really cool. And then we got into line. I think we got our book at like 2 a.m. But that was like the only like really midnight release party that I went to. But it was massive, which was awesome.
Nicole, who is in our chat room right now, she says, my parents wouldn't let me go to a midnight release party because nothing good happens after 10 p.m. At least that's what my mom told middle school me. Haha. That's accurate.
Reading happens after 10 p.m., Mom.
At home, but outside the home, what good happens? Midnight release parties every 2
I just
3
feel
years.
like if your child wants to go to a midnight release party for a book,
yeah,
that is a good thing.
You should celebrate that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Better than going to one of those movies with those Hollywood movie stars or going out to some friend's party in a basement.
What?
Wow, Andrew. Speaking from experience.
Roxanne says, Order of the Phoenix was my first midnight release too. I went to a Barnes & Noble and got my picture next to a cardboard Harry. Yeah, they had those there. I remember that too.
I remember my brother was really excited because he actually got from the Barnes & Noble, they gave him one of the boxes that the books were shipped in.
Yeah.
The ones that were like, do not open until July, whatever. And he like brought home this cardboard box and was really excited about it.
Laura, I have the Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince boxes. I don't have Deathly Hallows for some reason. I'm really bummed about that. Maybe I should buy one on eBay. I do have a Cursed Child box, though.
I tried to get a Cursed Child box at my Barnes & Nobles, and they were like, oh, no, we already threw them out.
Oh.
I'm like, come on, man.
Recycled, I hope
so.
Yeah. And we also got this email from Rebecca. She's in the UK. I thought it was a fun story. Reading the planning doc reminded me about one of the biggest regrets of my life, and I'm only half joking. I was 8 when Order of the Phoenix was released, and I was a huge bookworm. All my classmates were really into Harry Potter, but the teachers thought it was a bit of a fad with kids carrying around huge copies of Goblet of Fire just because they looked impressive. So like the tiny hipster I was, I dismissed Potter as being too mainstream and stuck to reading everything else I could get my hands on. One evening, my parents casually asked if I liked Harry Potter, and I said, it's all right, not my favorite. Then came the heartbreaking revelation that if I had been really keen, they would have taken me to the midnight release party for Order of the Phoenix. But since I had been so nonchalant in my answer, they wouldn't take me, as I would just use it as an excuse to stay up past my bedtime, no matter how much I protested afterwards that I really did like Harry Potter. It's nice that I'm a grown-up now and can read and stay up past midnight whenever I want, but I'll always be gutted that I missed out on that midnight release party. Thanks for everything you guys do. I love listening to the show, and it was my parents who introduced me to MuggleCast when they bought me my first iPod Nano in 2008 with the podcast downloaded.
Whoa.
So I can't resent them too much. Cool parents.
Yeah, your parents sound really cool. Your teachers, on the other hand, sound. My jury's out on them. Like even if kids are carrying around big books and it's like a popularity thing, the fact that books are making kids cool is something that you should encourage educators.
That's a good point.
What the heck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better than the Pokemon fad that was going on at the time.
Right.
My school banned Tamagotchis and Pokemon cards because everybody had them.
Right. It would be interesting in today's classroom to go to a teacher and say, oh, would you trade off your students carrying around a copy of Goblet of Fire for their, let's say, cell phone? which they're probably on throughout the course of your entire class. So
Right.
goes to show you. But this is really cool. iPod Nano. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, cool parents for sure. Thank you for loading MuggleCast onto that iPod.
I bet they screened it first and they were like, okay, no swearing.
No cursing.
This is good.
Family-friendly show.
We're kind of still family friendly.
Every once in a while. This episode has been. No cursing
Yeah.
here.
It's because of Stephanie.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
She's keeping us all in line.
The mom and me.
Mm-hmm.
So Order of the Phoenix went on to have an initial print run of 6.8 million in the United States. 5 million were sold in the first 24 hours. Those were record-breaking numbers, of course.
Man.
And yeah, so I think that's what we have to say about those years in between Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix. An exciting time for sure, as has been discussed today. And of course, the fandom just grew after Order of the Phoenix came out. All right, so next week we will be talking about Prisoner of Azkaban and Order of the Phoenix, that frame narrative that Laura has been mentioning. Laura, you're going to prep that discussion for us, or we're going to look at the threads between the two books, right?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this.
Laura's going to sit in her study, stay up past midnight,
Yep.
get some notes down.
I'm surprised you didn't do that in your Frank Underwood voice.
Sit in my
Claire?
study,
I'll be in my study.
comparing Prisoner of Azkaban to Order of the Phoenix. And we'll also talk about the Wizards Unite Indianapolis fan event. So I'll be going. If you're there, please say hi. Y'all, I am storing up some potions, so I'm ready to capture these dragons that they have in Indianapolis. I'm planning ahead. What level are you, Stephanie? Are you playing?
So I downloaded it. I think it came out right before I had my baby. So I downloaded. I think I played it for 5 minutes, and I have not been able to play anymore.
Hooray! I'm ahead of somebody.
Yes.
Yay!
I still get like the notifications where it's like, come join this and do all this stuff. And I'm just a little preoccupied.
Laura, I see you're level 10. Congratulations.
Thank you. I definitely fell off of it for a while, but then I came back and, went into my vault and all of the other places that you have to go to collect your XP that's not just given to you. And then it leveled me up a whole bunch. So
Good job. See? Feels
Yeah.
good to hit that collect button, doesn't it?
No, it does not.
Laura,
it infuriates
somebody at our
me.
meetup agreed with me. She was like, oh, yeah, you're so right. It feels so good to hit collect. I'm like, I know, right? Let's do it together right now. Yeah.
But in fairness to Laura, why not just create a little setting where it can be auto collect? You just hit it.
Oh,
and
you
that's it.
guys, you really
just
don't
give
get
me
it.
what I've earned.
Exactly.
Well,
Stop
I
trying-
shouldn't have to go through an extra step to get something I have
You
earned.
Right.
are
Stop
so-
screwing Laura out of her money and her energy and her whatever else they give.
It's a mind game, y'all. You two are, I don't understand.
I'm telling
you
you,
two.
okay, wait. In 2 weeks, let's see if they add this feature to Wizards Unite.
They're not.
Because every other time we brought this up, something related to Wizards Unite, within like a week or two, it's ended up being added to the
It's true.
Collecting
Yeah.
gives you a hit of dopamine. There's science behind it. That's why they're
Okay.
doing it.
Okay.
Nah,
They
I
also
don't
have to
think so.
differentiate active users with inactive users.
Well, if
People
you're not a
downloaded
real
the apps.
wizard, then I can see why you don't like this game, Eric. But us real Harry Potter fans,
Well, I was
we
defending
love it.
you. I was saying that
Oh.
that's the good thing.
Oh, I take that back
Anyway.
then. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I think that they should implement what Micah discussed, and they can call it like the capitalist feature. Like, if you don't want to have to do extra work and just want to be given your rewards, turn on capitalism. It's
$2.99 will be deducted from your bank account every 30 days, and it will auto collect all the stuff you've quote earned to give you imaginary things.
I can't play right now because I'm in the suburbs and there's just nothing nearby. No inns, no fortresses, no nothing. I'm all alone out here. This little wizard. Anyway, time now for Quizzitch. We haven't done this in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been I think 3 weeks since we last asked our last Quizzitch question. But thank you all for your patience. We did still get, throughout the weeks, some people answering. So the question, to remind everybody, was submitted by Meg S., who listens. And so the question was, which film actor who appeared in movie 1 has the same birthday as the character he portrays? This was a tough one. This was, in fact, one of the toughest questions that we've ever asked. The correct answer is Adrian Rawlins. So Adrian Rawlins, who plays James Potter, was born on March 27th, the same day as James Potter's birthday, March 27th. Rawlins was born in 1958 and James Potter in 1960. So that was super cool, and super cool of Meg S. to know that information. So congrats there. And really just as far as the people...
That was it?
What?
Meg S., that's it?
Yeah, Meg S. submitted the question, so...
Oh, she submitted the question, not the answer.
Oh, no. So the winners are... Well, she submitted the winner.
I thought Meg was the only one. I'm like, you got to do something better for her. She's the only one who got it right.
No. Meg did submit the answer, but because she also submitted the question, I don't think it counts. But no. The correct answers were submitted by...
That's cheating.
Ulysses Batman at Classy Ulysses. He says... Took me 32 minutes to figure out the question. Issy Mark Antonio said maybe the toughest Quizzitch question yet. And other answers submitted by Rose Wilder, Samwise Potter, Count Ravioli, Tetrax Mender, Kat, Michael Not Eric, Asim, the Jessley Hallows, Jason King, designed by Murr, and Sarah Davis. So, congrats to everybody who did get that right. And in keeping with the theme, we are asking people to, I asked weeks ago for people to submit their Quizzitch question. One person did. So thank you to Karen for submitting this week's Quizzitch question. Where did Harry get the name Hedwig to name his owl? This is a book 1 question. The answer can be found in book 1.
All right.
Submit your Quizzitch answer using hashtag Quizzitch over to us on Twitter, using hashtag Quizzitch.
If you want to get in touch with us, MuggleCast.com is where you can go. There's a contact form right there. You can also email MuggleCast@gmail.com. You can also call us, 1-920-368-4453. That's 1-920-3-MUGGLE. Also, feel free to reach out to us on social media. We're trying to respond more everywhere. MuggleCast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stephanie, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for your support at patreon.com/MuggleCast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
I know you've been
And Andrew, there is one additional social media platform we can add to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so MuggleCast is now officially on LinkedIn.
Ooh.
One of the big takeaways we got from the podcast movement conference down in Orlando is that LinkedIn is an untapped resource for podcasters. So we're going to try it out, see how it works. If you're on LinkedIn, add us, just search for MuggleCast. We'll pop right up.
The first 100 people to add us on LinkedIn will get their top skill endorsed by us.
Oh my God.
All right, Eric.
They'll get a recommendation from us.
Yeah.
You'll get a job at MuggleCast. We're trying it out.
You'll be our interns.
Some people will probably roll their eyes to hear that MuggleCast is now on LinkedIn, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. And the link, for those who are wondering, it's just linkedin.com. And they do a /company/MuggleCast podcast. So we'll just put it in the show notes.
Super easy.
Nothing is simple on like somebody else has MuggleCast, very similar to Instagram. We couldn't figure out who it was.
Grief.
So
we would love your support on Patreon. Pledge today, patreon.com/MuggleCast. You'll receive instant access to installments of bonus MuggleCast, early access to our show via the weekly live streams, and MuggleCast throwbacks. We give behind-the-scenes looks. We're also adding a new feature called Focus Group.
Yeah.
So from time to time, the MuggleCasters will call on you for your opinion on what direction we go with the show. You'll have the power to influence our most important decisions. So that is at the Slug Club level. Patreon.com/MuggleCast. pledge today. Thank you in advance. And
speaking of Patreon, the first round of tote bags is going out this week. Just as an update to that, it's this year's physical gift, and the next round as well has been ordered. So within a month or so, everyone's tote bags should be going out.
Fantastic. The reason there was a slight delay was because we were just waiting for more bags to become available, and they were on the slow boat from China apparently. So it took a while, but they're here now, and they're getting printed. We ordered the other day.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Stephanie.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.